Most people believe financial freedom comes from earning more and more money. But what if true freedom has little to do with how much you make and everything to do with how you relate to what you already have? Today, let us explore a quieter, wiser approach to wealth. Most people move through life with a quiet assumption. If I had more money, I would finally be free. Free from worry, free from pressure, free to live as I please. But this idea, though comforting, is often misleading. You see, money has a curious nature. When it increases, it does not simply add comfort, it often multiplies complexity. A higher income brings new expectations, new fears, and new attachments, more to protect, more to maintain, more to lose. And slowly, without noticing, a person who once chased freedom begins chasing stability, image, and control instead. Alan Watts often reminded us that freedom is not found by rearranging the outside world, but by understanding the inside one. If money alone created freedom, then the wealthiest people would be the most peaceful. Yet we see again and again that anxiety does not disappear with abundance. It merely changes its costume. The problem is not money itself. Money is neutral. It is a tool like fire. Fire can cook your food or burn down your house. The issue lies in the belief that more will complete us. When money becomes the answer to emotional insecurity, fear, or self-worth, it becomes a master rather than a servant. True freedom begins when you realize that your needs are often far smaller than your desires. Desires, unlike needs, are endless. They grow the moment they are satisfied. You earn more, so you spend more. You spend more, so you need more. And suddenly, the ladder you thought would lift you up has become a treadmill you cannot step off. Freedom, then, is not about how much money flows into your life, but about how little fear governs your choices. A person who earns modestly but understands contentment may sleep more peacefully than someone earning millions while fearing loss. Wealth without inner clarity often creates a golden cage, beautiful, impressive, and restrictive. This is why financial freedom is first a psychological freedom. It begins when you ask yourself honest questions. How much is enough? What am I truly afraid of losing? Am I using money to build a life or to escape one? When these questions are faced, money returns to its rightful place, a useful tool, not a source of identity. And in that moment, freedom quietly enters, not with fireworks, but with calm. You no longer chase money as proof of worth. You use it consciously, deliberately, and with respect for your own limits. That is real freedom. Not the freedom to buy anything, but the freedom to not need everything. I'd love to hear your perspective. Do you believe more money automatically brings more freedom, or have you experienced the opposite? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If more money were the key to financial freedom, then freedom would simply be a matter of numbers. Earn this amount, reach that level, cross that line, and peace would follow. But life does not work in straight lines, and neither does freedom. True financial freedom begins not with income, but with awareness. Awareness of how money moves through your life. Awareness of why you spend. Awareness of what you are trying to fix, soothe, or prove with every purchase. Alan Watts often spoke about unconscious living, how people drift through life, reacting instead of seeing. Money is one of the most unconscious areas of modern life. We earn it, spend it, worry about it, yet rarely sit quietly and observe our relationship with it. And whatever we do not understand ends up controlling us. Two people can earn the same amount of money. One feels constantly anxious, trapped, and behind. The other feels calm, capable, and free. The difference is not income, it is clarity. One knows where their money goes and why. The other allows money to disappear into habits formed by fear, comparison, or impulse. When spending is unconscious, money leaks, not just from your wallet but from your peace of mind. Small, repeated decisions made without thought slowly shape a life of pressure. And then we say, I need more money, when what we truly need is more attention. Freedom grows when choices become intentional, when you pause before spending and ask, does this truly add value to my life? Not status, not distraction, value. That pause alone is powerful. It breaks the spell of automatic behavior. It turns money from something that happens to you into something you participate in. Awareness also reveals a deeper truth. Many financial struggles are not caused by lack, but by misalignment. Spending money on things that do not reflect your values creates inner conflict. You may gain comfort, but lose direction. And the mind feels this contradiction, even if you try to ignore it. When your money aligns with your values, something subtle but profound happens. You feel lighter. Decisions become simpler. You stop chasing what everyone else is chasing. You begin funding your own life instead of renting someone else's dream. This does not mean living with restriction or guilt. Awareness is not punishment, it is liberation. It allows enjoyment without excess, pleasure without anxiety. You can appreciate what you have without constantly reaching for what you don't. In this way, financial freedom becomes a practice, not a destination. It is something you live into daily through small, conscious choices, not dramatic sacrifices, not sudden wealth, just clarity repeated gently over time. And paradoxically, when awareness increases, fear decreases. You no longer feel lost in your finances, you feel present. And presence, more than money, is what creates a sense of freedom. Take a moment to reflect and then share below. Do you feel in control of your money, or does it often feel automatic and stressful? Your insight might help someone else see their own relationship with money more clearly. We are often taught quietly, constantly, that desire is the engine of success. Want more, aim higher, chase harder. Desire, we are told, will save us. But Alan Watts gently turned this idea upside down. He reminded us that desire, when left unchecked, does not liberate, it binds. Financial stress is rarely about not having enough. It is about wanting more than is necessary. The more desires you carry, the more money you need just to stand still. Each new want becomes a weight. A larger house demands more income. A higher lifestyle demands more time. A stronger image demands more spending. And soon life becomes a cycle of earning to maintain rather than living to enjoy. This is the quiet trap of modern life. We mistake expansion for freedom, when often it is simplification that sets us free. Less desire does not mean lack of ambition, it means clarity. It means understanding the difference between what you truly need and what you have been conditioned to want. Many desires are not born from within, they are borrowed. Borrowed from advertisements, social comparisons, and silent expectations about what a successful life should look like. When you reduce unnecessary desire, something remarkable happens. Your existing resources suddenly feel abundant. The same income that once felt tight now feels spacious. The same lifestyle that once felt insufficient now feels complete. Nothing externally changes, yet everything internally shifts. Alan Watts spoke of the wisdom of water. It flows where it needs to, without demanding more than the moment requires. Human suffering begins when we resist this flow, when we constantly ask life to be different from what it is. Financial suffering follows the same pattern. We resist what we have by obsessing over what we lack. Desire promises happiness in the future, but steals peace from the present. And the cruel joke is this: when the desire is finally satisfied, it simply gives birth to another. The mind says, now that you have this, you need that. The finish line moves. Freedom never arrives, but when desire softens, freedom walks in quietly. You begin to see that joy does not scale with spending. A calm morning, a meaningful conversation, a sense of inner order, these things cost very little, yet enrich life deeply. When your happiness is no longer dependent on constant acquisition, money stops being a source of anxiety and becomes a simple tool. This does not mean rejecting comfort or progress. It means choosing consciously rather than compulsively. Buying because it serves your life, not because it feeds an image or fills an emotional gap. In letting go of excess desire, you reclaim time. Time not spent chasing. Time not spent worrying. Time to actually live the life you are already in. And perhaps this is the great secret. Financial freedom is not about having everything you want, but about wanting less and enjoying more. Take a quiet moment, then share honestly below what is one desire you've realized doesn't truly add value to your life. Your reflection might help someone else loosen the grip of unnecessary wanting. One of the most subtle traps we fall into is allowing money to define who we are. We begin to measure our worth in numbers, our salary, our savings, our possessions. Without realizing it, money quietly shifts from being a tool we use into an identity we defend. Alan Watts often warned against this confusion. When you mistake the symbol for the reality, you suffer. Money is a symbol. It represents value, effort, exchange, but it is not you. Yet many people live as if their bank balance is a reflection of their intelligence, discipline, or importance. When the numbers go up, the ego inflates. When they go down, self-worth collapses. This emotional dependence creates anxiety, fear, and constant comparison. Financial freedom begins when money returns to its proper place. Think of a hammer. A hammer is useful, it can build a house or break a window. But no one defines themselves by owning a hammer. Money is the same. It is powerful, yes, but only when used wisely. When you attach your identity to it, you hand it control over your peace of mind. This is why people with very little money can feel rich, while people with great wealth can feel deeply insecure. The difference is not the amount, it is the relationship. When money becomes your identity, every financial decision feels personal. A loss feels like failure. A gain feels like validation. You begin to play a dangerous psychological game where your sense of self rises and falls with the market, the paycheck, or the opinions of others. Alan Watts would say this is like mistaking the menu for the meal. Your life is happening now in your breath, your awareness, your relationships, not in your account statement. Money exists to support life, not replace it. When you remember this, a great weight lifts. You can make clearer decisions because fear no longer drives them. This shift also changes how you spend. Instead of asking, will this make me look successful? You ask, will this genuinely serve my life? Instead of chasing status, you invest in stability, health, learning, and peace. These returns do not fluctuate with inflation. Ironically, when money stops being your identity, you often manage it better. You take fewer emotional risks. You stop proving and start planning. You understand that your value is intrinsic. You were worthy before the paycheck and remain worthy without it. Financial freedom is not detachment from money. It is detachment from the illusion that money defines you. You are not your income. You are not your debt. You are not your net worth. You are the awareness using money as a tool in the great art of living. And when that realization sinks in, money loses its power to frighten you and gains its proper role, a servant, not a master. Be honest and reflective. Have you ever tied your self-worth to money or success? Share your experience in the comments. Your insight could help someone break free from the same silent pressure. One of the great misunderstandings about money is the belief that freedom arrives after you have enough of it. We tell ourselves, when I earn more, then I'll relax. When I save more, then I'll live. But this way of thinking quietly postpones life itself. Alan Watts would gently laugh at this idea because freedom is not a future event. It is a present relationship. True wealth is not measured by how much money sits in your account, but by how much control you have over your time, your attention, and your choices. A person earning modestly but living intentionally may be far freer than someone earning millions while trapped in obligations they despise. Money promises freedom but often delivers dependence unless you are conscious. When every increase in income leads to an increase in lifestyle, responsibility, and pressure, you are not becoming wealthier. You are becoming more entangled. The golden cage looks impressive, but it is still a cage. Bigger numbers do not automatically mean bigger freedom. Financial freedom begins when you learn to ask a different question. Not how can I earn more, but how little do I need to live well? This question changes everything. When your needs are simple and intentional, money stops controlling you. You are no longer forced to chase what you do not need. You gain the freedom to say no to jobs that drain you, to purchases that impress others, to paths that look successful but feel empty. Alan Watts often spoke about the art of knowing when enough is enough. In nature, nothing hoards. Rivers flow, trees grow what they need. Only the human mind, driven by fear and comparison, believes accumulation equals security. But real security comes from adaptability, awareness, and choice. A person with fewer expenses, fewer illusions, and clearer priorities has more room to breathe. They can change direction. They can take risks aligned with meaning, not desperation. They can choose rest without guilt and work without panic. This is why smart financial choices matter more than large incomes. Living below your means, avoiding unnecessary debt, and valuing experiences over possessions all expand your freedom, not because they make you rich, but because they make you light. Freedom is space, and space comes from simplicity. When money serves your values instead of your ego, it becomes a quiet ally. You stop asking it to prove your worth and start allowing it to support your life. At that moment, you are no longer chasing freedom, you are practicing it. So remember, wealth is not what you own, wealth is what you no longer need to chase. Take a moment and reflect. What does financial freedom truly mean to you? More money or more choice? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective might help someone rethink what enough really means. One of the quiet traps we fall into is believing that money measures who we are. More money means more value. Less money means less importance. And without realizing it, we tie our self-worth to numbers on a screen. But money was never meant to define you. It only reflects how consciously or unconsciously you relate to life. Alan Watts often reminded us that when you confuse symbols with reality, you begin to suffer. Money is a symbol. A useful one, yes, but still a symbol. It represents exchange, not identity. When you mistake it for proof of your intelligence, success, or dignity, you hand it power. It was never designed to hold. Think about it. Two people can earn the same income and live entirely different lives. One feels constantly anxious, always afraid of losing it, always comparing, always chasing more. The other feels calm, grounded, and content, using money as a tool rather than a judge. The difference is not income, it is awareness. Financial struggle is often less about lack of money and more about lack of clarity. When your spending is unconscious, money leaks away. When your desires are driven by comparison, money disappears faster than it arrives. When your goals are shaped by fear, no amount ever feels enough. In this way, money simply mirrors the state of your mind. This is not a moral judgment, it is an observation. A calm mind makes calm financial decisions. A restless mind makes impulsive ones. That is why true financial freedom cannot begin with money alone. It must begin with awareness. Awareness of why you want what you want. Awareness of what truly adds value to your life. Awareness of the difference between comfort and excess. When you stop using money to prove something to yourself or to others, you regain control. You no longer spend to impress, to numb, or to escape. You spend with intention, and intention is the birthplace of wisdom. Alan Watts would say that the universe is not asking you to be rich, it is asking you to be awake. When you are awake, you naturally make better choices. You notice patterns. You see consequences before they arrive. You act with patience instead of panic. Money then becomes a feedback system, not a verdict. If things are chaotic financially, it is an invitation to look inward, not to feel ashamed. If things are flowing smoothly, it is not a reason for arrogance. In both cases, money is simply showing you how aligned or misaligned you are with your values and awareness. You are not your bank balance, you are the consciousness using it, and when that consciousness becomes steady, money follows clarity instead of confusion. So rather than asking, how do I make more money? Ask, how can I become more aware? Because when awareness leads, money quietly finds its place. Let's reflect together. Do you feel money reflects your stress or your clarity right now? Share your honest thoughts in the comments. Someone reading may realize they're not alone in this journey. There is a quiet misunderstanding at the heart of modern life, the belief that freedom arrives when we finally have enough. Enough money, enough security, enough possessions. We imagine a future moment where accumulation grants us peace. But that moment rarely comes because the chase itself keeps moving. Alan Watts would gently laugh at this idea. He often pointed out that when you pursue life as a finish line, you miss the music while you're running. Financial freedom is no different. It is not a trophy waiting at the end of accumulation. It is a state of alignment you can feel right now. Alignment means your money reflects your values. When what you earn, save, and spend matches what truly matters to you, a deep sense of ease appears. You may not be wealthy by society's standards, but you are no longer divided within yourself, and inner division wanting one thing while living another is the real source of financial stress. Consider how often money is spent in conflict with our values. We buy things to appear successful rather than to feel fulfilled. We commit to lifestyles that look impressive but quietly exhaust us. We say yes to expenses that pull us away from peace simply because this is what people do. That is not freedom, that is performance. True freedom begins when you stop asking, "What should I want?" and start asking, "What actually nourishes me?" The moment those two answers align, money stops feeling like a chain and starts feeling like a companion. This is why some people with modest incomes feel deeply free, while others with abundance feel trapped. One is living in alignment, the other is living in comparison. Alan Watts often spoke of the Tao the natural way. When your financial life flows in harmony with who you are, effort decreases. You don't have to constantly motivate yourself to save, budget, or plan. Those actions arise naturally because they make sense to you, not because they're imposed by fear or pressure. Alignment also simplifies life. You realize that many expenses were never about joy, but about avoiding discomfort, boredom, insecurity, or the fear of being seen as behind. When you stop running from those feelings, you stop overspending to mask them, and suddenly you need less to feel whole. This is the paradox. Freedom grows as unnecessary desires fall away, not because you are denying yourself, but because you are no longer confused about what truly matters. Money then becomes lighter to carry. Decisions become clearer. Anxiety softens. You are no longer trying to buy a future version of yourself. You are living as yourself now. And from that place, financial freedom stops being a dream and becomes a practice, one thoughtful choice at a time. So don't ask how much you need to be free. Ask how aligned you are with your life. Because freedom is not something money gives you, it is something alignment reveals. Take a moment to reflect. Does your spending reflect your true values or someone else's expectations? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your honesty might help someone else realign their own path. At the deepest level, financial freedom is not something you reach, it is something you practice. It is not a destination stamped with a number in your bank account. It is the quality of your relationship with money in each moment of your life. We often treat money as if it were an external force acting upon us, an authority that judges our worth, dictates our choices, and determines our peace. But Alan Watts would remind us that money, like language or time, is a symbol, and symbols only have power when we forget that we are the ones using them. When money controls your mood, your identity, or your sense of safety, the relationship has quietly turned upside down. You are no longer using money. Money is using you. Freedom begins when this relationship is restored to balance. A healthy relationship with money is calm, attentive, and honest. You look at what you have without denial. You plan without obsession. You spend without guilt. You save without fear. None of these actions are extreme, because freedom lives in the middle between neglect and fixation. This is why making smart choices matters more than making more money. Smart choices are not dramatic. They are often invisible. They look like saying no to an impulse, pausing before upgrading a lifestyle, choosing clarity over convenience. These moments rarely impress others, but they slowly liberate you. And here is the quiet truth. Most financial suffering does not come from lack of money, but from lack of awareness. We spend unconsciously, we earn automatically, we worry habitually, and then we wonder why peace feels so distant. But when awareness enters the picture, when you actually see how money moves through your life, something remarkable happens. You stop reacting, you start responding. Alan Watts often emphasized that wisdom is not about control, but about understanding the nature of things. Money flows just like breath. If you grip it too tightly, you suffocate. If you ignore it completely, you starve. Freedom comes from learning the rhythm: inhale and exhale, earn and spend, save and share. This rhythm also teaches humility. You realize that money cannot protect you from change. It cannot guarantee happiness. And yet, when treated wisely, it can support a life of simplicity, generosity, and presence. Not excess, but enough. And enough, when truly understood, is extraordinarily rich. When you stop asking money to give your life meaning, you stop feeling betrayed by it. When you stop measuring your worth through numbers, you begin to experience dignity that no market can take away. That is real financial freedom, not independence from money but intimacy with it, not domination but understanding, not anxiety but trust. So the final lesson is this: money will never free you, but your relationship with money can. And when that relationship is grounded in awareness, discipline, and clarity, freedom is no longer something you chase, it is something you live. Let's reflect together. How would your life change if your relationship with money became calmer and more conscious? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your insight may spark clarity for someone else on this journey.